Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday. It is my favorite day of the week, Hackster Café. We get to talk to someone doing amazing stuff with electronics, and I think this is maybe our fourth cafe, maybe our fifth. I'm not sure. We've been doing this for a while.
A bit. I know we had Blue. Did we have the original Pocket?
I think we
did.
did.
Yeah, I remember the Blue one was a fun because I love the little robot.
Yeah, we did the Beagle Connect Play and the Beagle Play and the Beagle Connect
Hey,
Freedom
yeah,
before.
still doing lots of stuff with those. I got that's actually what I've been playing with. Before the call here, so just
Ooh,
doing stuff with Play and Connect and
aptly named.
my crazy desk. This is a Play in a case with a cell modem. I'm trying to find nice ways to fit that into stuff like that. And I've actually been playing
Interesting.
with Open Thread lately.
Ah,
Anyway, that's a
I'll have
big
to ask you about
distraction.
that.
Yeah, maybe. I think I've come to some realization with
uh,
dealing with the BeagleBoard community. There's so many different things going on. I have no idea myself, and I think I've realized I've confused a lot of people in the community that seem to think we're on a single board computer project. And the reality is we're on a preservation of human knowledge project, right? And
Ooh.
and I'm realizing that has helped me realize why I confuse people so often. It's like, why don't you do this easy thing? Why don't you do that easy thing? Why don't you do that easy thing? And it's because this is about preservation, not quick and easy solutions.
This is a huge point of interest for me, especially recently, so I'm really excited to dig into that. So first, though, I kind of skipped past introducing you.
Oh yeah.
Jason Kridner is the founder and also president of the board of BeagleBoard.org, the open source single board computer and microcontrollers and preservation of human knowledge organization. So all of your stuff is open source, and just there's some new hardware that we're going to look at, but just on the point of open source, let me pull up actually real quick all these tabs for the BeagleY-AI board, which is a new one. We've got the product page up here as well, which you can check out. But just like we've got the stocks page, we've got a quick start guide with all the
The
Beagle
pinout
Connect.
guide is nice. Yeah.
Oh
Thanks to
yeah.
the folks over at Gadgetoid, right? That crew has created a great pinout guide for the Raspberry Pi that we've repurposed for, and we're still constantly reinventing it. But yeah, I think it's a really nice pinout guide to get you going pretty
Oh
quickly.
yeah. So good. You got the BeagleY-AI handbook, so practical guide to all these different types of projects and stuff. We can check those out later. Plus a forum, so you can do, if you're like a textbooks person, you can read textbooks. If you're an online guides kind of person, you can read online guides. If you're a forums kind of person, you can look at the forums and stuff. Really, any way that you learn, you
Yeah,
can
we
check
just
out.
hit 3,000 on the Discord, which
Ooh!
I'll just say that I hate Discord. I hate it. And for the aspect of being a preservation of human knowledge sort of thing, that's putting things in a walled garden like that
Yes.
is fundamentally competitive with the idea of actually keeping the information around. But to that extent, you got to kind of meet people where they're at, and they're on Discord, and we turned on Discord channel at server, and all of a sudden we had 3,000 people, so it happened really fast,
Dang.
and for better or worse, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me, is to hop on the Discord channel. Certainly the forums, there's links to put things on my calendar if you don't get good support on the forums in a timely fashion.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, anybody can put something on my calendar if you're not getting a good answer on the forums. The forum's still the official place to get support, to get the right answer. But if you want a quick answer, the Discord is out there. And we even had a Google Summer of Code project, which we haven't yet been able to crawl the Discord, but there is mind.beagleboard.org now as far as
Ooh.
source of information. So we've been playing with
Oh, check that out.
the good old that was a intern project this summer,
Nice.
which is kind of fun. We'll tell you a little bit about your BeagleY-AI if you want to. And there's even a command line interface that you could run on your BeagleY-AI. So you
Oh,
can
wizard. Oops.
teach it about itself a little bit.
Wow, interesting. All kinds of different ways to interact with the knowledge based in here. I'm always curious about the accuracy of those kind of things. Actually, if we may diverge for a second, are there so some models offer, for example, retrieval augmented generation, which takes a database and puts it into the brain, or gives an AI assistant access to this database in order to give it like something that it knows about, as you probably know, but just for our
Yeah.
audience. And I'm
And that's
curious
all we're
about
doing. And that's exactly what we're doing
okay,
on mind.beagleboard.org. We've created a
gotcha.
RAG to provide where we've crawled the forums and the documentation, docs.beagle.cc, which I think one of the screens you kind of flew through was on docs.beagle.cc.
Yeah.
And crawled that information to try to help it find it. And I'd say it hallucinates a fair bit because it's just using the standard ChatGPT models for generating the text that it tells you. So it does hallucinate fairly easily to think that it knows the answer to a solution when it really doesn't, or at least treats you like it knows the answer to a solution. Of course, it doesn't really know anything in this case. And it the nice thing is it helps you kind of find some of those resources that you might not find otherwise, right? Because it does provide reference links. Searching the forum, searching the docs, right, is maybe what you want to do, but maybe you want to use the RAG augmented AI tool to help you kind of find those, right? So it's a way.
Got it.
But this is you're looking at docs.beagle.cc, right? This is Sphinx-based restructured text documentation. It's an open project up on our openbeagle.org GitLab instance. That's one of those questions I get is like, why are you bothering to do GitLab when everybody's using GitHub? Why are you hosting your own instance of it? And it's that fact that we're that preservation project, right? So we're associating a lot of GitLab runners on there. If you're familiar with the Beagle 5 Fire, which is an FPGA-based board, it's kind of the easiest way to build gateware, compile gateware for the FPGA-based board. You don't have to install the tools. You just start writing Verilog, checking into the continuous integration server, and it'll build it for you and spit you out a Debian file that has the gateware in it, and you can upload that to your Beagle 5 Fire running Ubuntu. Yeah, the Beagle 5 Fire. Yeah, I guess that's not one you're familiar with.
No.
Yeah, it's one of our RISC-V boards, right? So it's in the BeagleBone form factor.
Yeah, I figured that out, but it's also got an FPGA on it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Check it out. So
it's a really fun project, and it's been hard with getting some space usage. It actually got used as a reference for space grade Linux recently. So
cool.
Yeah, very excited about the space grade Linux.
I have got to check that out. That's absolutely up my alley. Space grade Linux. It kind of dovetails with the IPFS, the interplanetary file system, which if you're talking about preservation of knowledge, a similar kind of concept, but like designing file systems to be interplanetary, as the name suggests. But so you were talking about how you've got this GitLab up, which I always say wrong. And anyone can contribute to this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea. We do try to, we keep a lot of mirrors up on GitHub as well. So, I mean, GitHub. So if you go to
Mm.
GitHub/BeagleBoard, we've got a landing page there. But yeah, that's the source to the GSOC website, right? If you go to gsoc.beagleboard.org, you find out about our Google Summer Code internship program. Um, and yeah, so it's, I mentioned it's hard to keep up with what's going on in the Beagle community.
I was just digging through your blog and I kept finding more and more cool things. Like, I didn't even get around to all the tabs that I pulled up beforehand. But I think we could just like try and take one thing at a time. So there was, yeah, for example, this thing, which I didn't
Yeah.
realize there was a whole BeagleBoard Rust community, and they've now published the Rust imager to FlatHub as a Flatpak, so you can more easily image the OS.
Yeah, yeah, it's we started with forking the RPi imager utility, which was a useful start, and got so far with that. But we really wanted to kind of accelerate the development, add a lot more features. Right, this actually has some features to actually allow programming for some of the microcontroller boards with a bootloader in it. It provides some. It just it provides more features, and we wanted to try to do that stably. And we find Rust is a really great language for creating stable code. Right, and again, preservation of knowledge, right? So we kind of rebooted and created everything for the imaging utility in Rust, and now you can find out what the latest images for all the different boards are, and flash the boards directly from that utility, right? And it runs on this kind of standard Mac, Windows, Linux. So definitely that's the new way into all things is start with the BB imager, right? So if you want to make an image for your BeagleY. So I don't know. Do we want to try to talk to some of the hardware? I don't want to. I want to make sure not to leave it out, because I actually would. I'm looking forward to kind of forking off and talking about some of the other fun stuff. But
Yeah.
Hardware. But if you are looking at BeagleY-AI, using the imagers is kind of the way to get started with this, and to make an SD card image, because unlike most of the Beagles, this one doesn't include onboard flash, right? So you have to boot it over the micro SD card, right? So you have to boot it that way. Although once you boot it that way, it's got the PCI Express on here, so you can put the like an SSD on here. Most of my BeagleYs are in the basement in cases with Ethernet power over Ethernet, right? So it's got the PoE header on it. You can use the standard Raspberry Pi 5 PoE hat, and you can use the ones that have the PCI Express for putting the SSDs on here, and it works with standard Pi 5 enclosures as well. So I think we did one of the better jobs at kind of mimicking the Pi 5 layout. On the back side, we do have one connector that can sometimes get in the way, and some depending on things, but it's usually okay. But this is an LVDS display. It's called LVDS is the low voltage differential signaling, right? So it's able to go kind of decent distance over cable. Kind of like just the display port, right? So up here you got display port and CSI for displays and cameras. But this one is for a lot of embedded displays. They make cheaper displays. Unfortunately, they're mostly cheaper displays that are largely custom, but we do have one from Lincoln Tech that you can put on here.
Gotcha.
That's available through DigiKey, through the DigiKey marketplace. But yeah, so otherwise it's very, very compatible with the Pi 5 form factor. And I really was very reluctant to do anything in a Pi form factor, right? The original like BeagleBone, right? They kind of copied the original BeagleBone form factor when they did the Pi. but they forgot to round the corner, so it won't fit in the output.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely gonna get into that.
And I like having the connector, having a lot more I/O, having the connectors kind of off on 2 ends and not off on 3 ends. They've done some things over time to kind of improve the Pi form factor a little bit, although I think they've repeated one of our worst mistakes, which is to use the micro HDMI connector, right? That's probably my least favorite thing.
Really?
But we're sticking to that, right? So with the BeagleY, right, sticking to the micro HDMI connector, it's become most people kind of learn to put up with it. You already had to put up with it on the BeagleBone Black, right?
Okay.
But okay, go ahead.
I got a question for you about that. What do you hate about it?
Hate about the form factor?
About the micro HDMI, is it just fragile?
Oh, it's fragile. Yeah, it's
gotcha.
fragile. It's very easy to get a lot of leverage on it without enough surface area on the board.
Yeah.
We try our best to put good mechanical retention on here. In the past, we've gone as far on the BeagleBone Blacks of even like putting blobs of epoxy on there to try to help hold it down better, because people just get in there and they're able to pop it off with the leverage of the cable. I think once you put it in an enclosure, it's less of a concern. So that's part of the vision for the BeagleY, is that you'll be putting it into an enclosure. But I'm still kind of a fan of having, like on the Beagle Play, we've got the full size, the full size HDMI connection. So I'm still kind of a fan of that.
I was just hunting for this. Like, this is sort of a prime example of that. I've been using this so that I don't have to swap cables all the time. But it also, like on many boards, it sits very close to the USB connectors, including the power connector. So there ends up being like a ton of stress on it just from that. And
just because I deal with it a lot, I have a lot of the cables that have the narrow cables, right? Instead of having that breakout right close to it. So I have a bunch of the micro HDMI to full size HDMI cables that have it skinny at the end. But I mean,
have one of those. It's just like, you gotta always switch it out.
It's not a new problem we're creating, right? We're copying existing problems. So it's kind of silly. It's one of the things I really used to like about the Pi, was having the full size HDMI. And now once we get around to copying it, they've gone micro. So
So answering a couple of questions here real quick. Part of the reason that I wanted to get Jason in, it was kind of like a shot in the dark, where I was like, oh man, it would be great. We've got this Hackster giveaway going, and the BeagleY-AI is part of that. So indeed, there is a giveaway going on. Let's just take a look at the context real quick. So this is the question. I saw a video where someone was calling this the BeagleY-AI. I thought of it as the BeagleY-AI. What do you call it?
I say BeagleY. Why? Because it rhymes with pie. Why? Why do we do it? I don't know.
Getting the lore here. Solid. And so it's part of this On the Edge giveaway that's going on with Hackster.io. There's 2 more drawings going on through October the 5th. So there's one on the 29th and one on October 5th. And you can indeed win a BeagleY-AI. It's right here in the giveaways, along with other prizes that you can check out on that page. So if you just go to Hackster.io/contests, you'll find the On the Edge giveaway. And among those prizes is the BeagleY-AI, which I'm not immediately seeing here because my brain is fuzzy.
It was at the bottom. Yeah. Right
there. Here we go.
2 winners.
Solid. So you still have a chance. And you can find out more about why and what and how over here on the...
And it's been I've been delightfully surprised with how nice it's been to do something in a Pi form factor, right? So you say I didn't prefer it, but because there's been so much done around the Pi, that like you saw that robot arm, it was real easy just to swap out the Pi, right? I bought a robot arm off the shelf. That's my Cobot robot arm, and I was easily able to go and swap out the Beagle sorry, the Raspberry Pi with a BeagleY. In that case, it was a Pi 4, so you had to deal with the fact that the Ethernet, they swapped the plate positions of the Ethernet and USB because we followed the Pi 5 positioning. Yeah, it's been so easy to kind of take Pi projects, use the enclosures, all the add-on hardware. It's been just really easy to kind of leverage all that stuff that's out there. So I feel like I never should have pushed back in the first place from doing it.
Well,
But of course, this has some really cool features that you don't get on a Raspberry Pi. So it's nice to kind
yeah.
of swap those in.
Let's talk about that. So you've made a previous AI focused board, the Beagle
Mhm.
64, no, AI 64.
Yeah, this is actually our third. We had a BeagleBone AI and then the AI
Oh yeah.
64, right? I've got an AI 64 here, but
Oh,
it's got a cape on it, right? That's not actually showing the. That's a prototype. My other one's powered on over here. But the it's a bit bulkier, right? This is not the heatsink it ships with. It actually ships with a much beefier heatsink. It's a very powerful automotive processor, the TDA4 VM from Texas Instruments, and it's Cortex A72s, which run a fair bit hotter than the A53s that we have on BeagleY, right? So we've done AI boards before. The AI 64 was uh, 8 tops neural engine. The BeagleY is a 4 top, so you're still getting a good amount of the AI performance. It's the kind of a step down to the TDA4 to the AM67A. It's their lower cost, a lower power option. Still has the automotive grade processors. It's being used in a lot of auto solutions from Texas Instruments. And it's got this C7 DSP that we're working on open sourcing more and more of the tools, but you can actually rebuild the AI engine, from the bare bits, right? So yeah, so that's kind of one of the cooler things about it, right? I think it's gonna lots of work going into getting it into upstream projects, right? Again, preservation project, right? It's about like what sort of information can we put into the kind of standard knowledge base that people pull from in order to kind of replicate these things, right? If you've ever you can kind of equate something like this to putting on a Google Coral, if you remember that.
yeah.
uh, Kind of inside of a Raspberry Pi. These NPU or neural processing units, right? The C7 DSP that's in here is actually a lot more flexible and capable than just doing the neural stuff. It's really great for doing things like audio and other
Oh yeah.
applications.
And there's lots
Uh,
of video and vision stuff specifically as
Yeah,
well.
it's got the H.264, H.265
Mm.
encoder decoders. There's some other vision acceleration that's still a little bit harder to like kind of open up really well. But you can program the R5s really easily. We have Zephyr targeting the R5s, or if you want to do bare metal, right? So you can put the low time low latency real time applications on the R5 without disturbing kind of the main processors, and then the digital signal processing tasks you can put on the C7, right? And then it's got the matrix multiply accelerator that gets you to the 4 tops. But that's something that you can change that code, right? You can also download through the BB Imager. You can get the Edge AI images that have kind of pre-built demos using the accelerator, right? But these neural processing units, right? They do some. They're really good at integer array mathematics, right? That's what they're really good at, and the tools are constantly improving for targeting them, right? So that you can do it in other languages, do it in ways that you get your models trained to run nicely on them. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that TI Edge AI SDK, right? So that's kind of pre-set up with the TI tools as they release them, and they release
Cool.
the source for the vast majority of things in there. We're moving all that stuff into more of a mainline. I use that term a lot, and I realize like maybe not everybody knows what it means when you start talking about mainline, but like
Yeah.
like
I mean, I know one version of what that term means, but I don't think it's the same one.
tell me. No, oh, now that one. Sorry, I had to pause for a minute.
Uh,
No, it's like Linux is what we like consider a mainline, right? Because it's kind of one
uh-huh.
collection of like a body of knowledge preservation, right? It's the like it kind of defines a lot of what a computer is today. Is what Linux provides. There's some really close things to it, um, particularly looking at Mesa, that kind of defines what a GPU is, right? So, Linux kind of handles the CPU, and then when you have graphics processing, you have Mesa. Now Mesa is starting to grow to handle all these neural processors as well. If you look at something like the video accelerators, like the H.264, 265s, those are directly handled in the Linux kernel through the Video for Linux interface, right? So
Gotcha.
those are already nicely handled.
Is this the guy?
Yeah,
It
Mesa.
seems
Yeah, that's the
okay.
guy.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's really heavily, Linux utilizes it very heavily. I don't think it's explicitly tied to Linux, but you'll largely see it associated that way. But it's an open source project for supporting the stuff that you need to do fast video. Yeah. So that's where we're putting like the GPU support into, right? So we've been working with Imagination Technologies to put the GPU support into Mesa.
Cool. Yeah, this is really relevant to some stuff that I'm doing around oh man. Oh yeah. So lately I've been playing around with more building some cyber decks just to get more familiar with things like Linux because I've generally been like a Mac person throughout my life. I know. uh
Yeah.
I know that you don't care, but just anyway.
The thing that when Mac started using like POSIX stuff and Unix stuff, I started using Mac. So, because it's like, hey, I know this, I can actually use this, right? Definitely a Linux
Yes.
user, but I'm a little pragmatic as well. So tell me, you're using your Mac, you're learning about Linux.
So, I've been doing like command line stuff since high
Mm,
school, and there's a lot of overlap there, just conceptually. But so one thing that I've been doing, like I said, is like partly with the aim of learning is building some little single board computer based cyber decks, and mostly just like getting the OSs on them right
mhm.
now. I'm really curious. I've been trying to look this up, but do you happen to know if you can run like Tails OS on any of these boards? Because it depends on the architecture of the board itself. Um,
Tails OS, is that you're not talking about Talos, right?
no, it's the one that like
TALOS. Tails.
it's like a security focused one that's like stateless and you can run it off of a USB drive and stuff. And then there's Kali Linux as well that I've gotten running on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah,
So
Kali.
I'll
So
be
yeah, we've
digging into
definitely
this.
run Kali a fair bit on Beagles. Tails OS, though, I think I've heard of it. It's because it's one of the immutable ones, like where your core system is not modifiable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's designed to be like portable so that you can just like, every time you boot it up, it's like totally fresh and there's like nothing, that persists between states. I'm
I'm
fascinated by these things and I'm trying to like learn more about different
I'd
OSs
be
and such.
I'd be happy to help you put it on a Beagle.
Well,
I,
maybe
I
I'll
mean,
hop on
putting
Discord
a
and
Linux distribution, like putting a different Linux distribution on a Beagle is kind of easy for me. That's not a big deal. So that would be something. Yeah, let's do it.
that'd be
Let's
sick.
let's let's put Tails on a BeagleY-AI.
That'd be amazing. Another side comment. Oh, we've got Paul Stoffridge in here of TNC. Good stuff.
Hey,
Love his
Paul.
Speaking of other OSs, we got Cyril in the chat as well, another Hackster Cafe guest who builds super cool stuff, asking, is there Yocto support for the BeagleY-AI yet?
Yes, so the TI SDK is built on Yocto. There's absolutely Yocto support. If you're looking for the particular layer stack up, come on over to the forum or the Discord, and I think we can kind of point you to a layer stack up that's recent. But yeah, the TI SDK is built using Yocto.
Super cool.
Yocto is really important for being able to kind of talk about that preservation stuff, right? Being able to go back and rebuild your operating system, years from now, and be able to keep up with all this compliance stuff. If you're building a product that you're shipping in Europe now, right, you're going to have to worry about the CRA, right, the EU, the CRA, and I hate that all the letter stuff that keeps coming up.
It's another TLA we got to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly. But it's it's a lot of common sense rules on like, hey, don't use dictionary passwords, and hey, exactly, the Cyber Resiliency Act. But it also means that, hey, you shouldn't just run the same version of SSH in the open forever without fixing bugs that are known to exist. Right?
Ah, yes, fair.
So we call them the CVEs, and I even forget what that stands for, because it's just, oh yeah, you're just dealing with the CVEs, which is really just a lot of security notifications and then bug fixes against those security notifications for bugs and a lot of software, particularly open source software.
My initial response was like, is it coronal viral ejection, like coronal mass ejection?
What does it stand for? What does it stand for?
It just showed it in the results of the. It said it was common vulnerabilities and exposures, which obviously, why didn't we notice that? Random side note again, the fact that it's got 4 tops on the BeagleY-AI, I keep thinking about Motown music. You should do I should do a Motown project.
Represent Detroit here.
Oh yeah. So we wanted to get through more of the hardware stuff real quick so that we can talk about more of the cool in-depth stuff. You've got the PocketBeagle 2. You can find an article about this on Hackster by James Lewis.
If we're going to fly fast, I want to mention one last thing about the BeagleY. That's software related, because I think the cool thing here is that we're in October, we're going to be releasing Android, and really trying to drive community support for embedded Android, right? Because for a lot of people, we can get all into the nuance and details of embedded Linux and Yocto, and those things are amazing and fantastic, but you just want something to create, simple apps with, right? So we're going to really try to make Android a first-class citizen on BeagleY-AI, and really drive a community project to kind of put the features in you need to be able to go and make things with it, right? So Android is a really useful software framework for going and building useful things, and so look to that. We're also doing this. I think tomorrow we've got a live stream with the Thistle folks talking about how to do more of that CVE stuff, right, which is doing over-the-air compliance stuff, right? So the Yocto stuff really helps you maintain all the different CVEs and all the different projects, right? Even if you're dealing with it years ahead, right, because it gets the patches and all the individual projects, right? But if you want to deploy that, right, you got to look at something like Thistle or one of the other solutions, Belina, Minder, or other kind
Belina,
of like
Minder.
Belina or Minder.
Or Minder.
Yeah,
because they've got Etcher, which is a very similar.
Etcher is a tool that they created just to help you get their images onto boards. As a core service, what Belina does is they actually do Yocto-based images for the boards. I've got a bunch of boards running with Belina OS here, but they use Yocto-based images for the boards, and they provide you a dashboard for updating them remotely, right? So each of the boards runs Docker containers, and so you deploy applications with Docker onto the boards, right? So they have support for BeaglePlay now natively. I don't know if they have their BeagleY support up yet.
BeaglePlay being your microcontroller.
No, Play is the Play is the one. It's Play
I keep
because
getting these
instead of
confused.
yeah, Play is the one that it talks to the Connect.
Right.
But the thing about Play is it's got these standard interfaces on it rather than kind of dealing with the low level stuff. So that's kind of the fun of it. It's got Grove and a Quick or Qt Stemma. This is just CSI, and this is that OLDI connector as well. But it's got HDMI, USB. It's got gigabit Ethernet, and it's also got this single pair Ethernet that I put over an RJ11.
Yeah.
And it's got all these. It's got a
that kind of
programmable radio on it that you can. It's the same radio that we have on the. This is a Beagle Connect that I've taken apart. Right, it's not in the enclosure that it's normally under. But these two talk to each other using a sub-gigahertz network. It's like they can talk 1 kilometer, 1 kilobit in kind of urban areas, right?
Yeah. So it's the same frequencies as Meshtastic, but it seems to be a different protocol that you're talking about.
Yeah, we're using
LoRa
a proprietary 802.15.4. Right, so it's a yeah.
Also, it predates Meshtastic, as far as I know.
Yeah, you can run things like Sidewalk and YSUN and some more standard protocols, but we're just kind of using ourselves. Like we're mostly just using what's in the mainline Zephyr, which is just a 802.15.4 sub G, and you can build things on top of it. That's why what I was playing with before getting on the phone was actually doing OpenThread, but OpenThread with sub gigahertz. So that's what I've been. That's why this is on the desk. But no, so
just real quick, if people want to know more about that, we actually did an interview about that a couple of years ago that goes really into depth on those two boards specifically, which is I think why I'm confusing them, because like they came out at the same time.
They work together. They really work together, and that's what like with the Balena stuff, right? So I'm actually building stuff where these are going into places where acting as gateways, and we can push the Docker images on here, and then we can connect up to all sorts of sensors in the environment using the Beagle Connect. We even saw this being used at Embedded World. They're actually doing environmental monitoring at the Embedded World trade show last year using BeaglePlays, right? So
cool.
Yeah, so it's getting used in a lot of real world applications.
So have you been to any interesting conferences recently? Are you going to be at any upcoming ones?
The most recent one I went to was the Linux Foundation Open Source Summit in Amsterdam. That was pretty cool. Nice to go to Amsterdam. It's always feels good to go to some of those events. Feels a little bit like a reunion. I don't know what's next, honestly. There's so many fun things coming up. There's SuperCon.
Yep.
Which I'm excited about, but probably not going to. I know Robert's been working on some badges, which has been inspiration for me to start carrying around things on lanyards. Because he's building SuperCon badges. Robert, for people that don't know, is he's the guy that produces the Debian OS images for BeagleBoard, and he's one of our board members. He works at DigiKey, so when I just throw out Robert, that guy, he does a lot of a lot of support for BeagleBoard, tangential to his day job at DigiKey.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. We have so much things. I mean, we've got we make our own modules now. So we've got AM62 based modules, including the Wi-Fi modules, right? So if you looked at the BeagleY-AI, you may notice. I'm not going to get it to focus for me, am I?
It's always a problem.
Yeah, this is actually a Beagle Wi-Fi module, right? So you can actually go to
Yes.
Mouser. You can actually go to Mouser and buy those modules, right? So
Huh.
we make our own Wi-Fi modules now. Nice.
Really cool. Is that mentioned in here? I think, yeah, the BM 3301, or is it a different thing? This
Yeah,
guy.
it's the BM3301. It's based on the TICC 3301 Wi-Fi BLE module. I got to be careful saying Bluetooth because people think, like, well, what, it doesn't have full-on Bluetooth support, right? It's got the BLE
Ah,
support. Um,
but you
it
can go
seems to
get
be a
that.
trend these days. Say again?
It's just telling people so you can go get that, like you said, on
Mhm.
Mouser, and like you said, you can really just build one of these from scratch if you really want to, and if you have the tools and stuff, or can acquire them. Very cool.
Exactly, right. I mean, that's something that always makes us different than, other folks that might be building low-cost computers, right? Is that we make sure that you can get all the parts through distribution, quantity one, build your own, change it, right? That's the idea,
Hmm.
right? To do open hardware, not just cheap computers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm into that. Alongside that, we've got, in terms of future thinking, we've got the new BeagleBone Green Eco, which is a collaboration with Seed Studio, which is an upgrade to the old BeagleBone Green. But now it's like, was it just called Green because it was Seed? No, it's definitely Eco. Can you give us any insights into what the like eco side of this guy is?
So it's got a new power management IC on here. It's a little bit lower cost than the power management IC that was on the BeagleBone Black. Right. Let me hold up both of them
Mm.
together. So I've got a black um, and a green eco kind of side by side. Um, so they remove the micro HDMI like they do in all the greens, right? So it's kind of
Oh.
one of the nastier features. I gotta get my mirror image handling, right? So they removed the micro HDMI to kind of cut some costs and to get rid of some of the features that maybe are less likely to be used on
Mm.
a bone. And that they actually use some resources on the pin headers, right? So you have to think about when you're using a BeagleBone Black, whether you're using the HDMI, if you're going to use some of the pins.
Mm.
You don't have to do that here. They had the Grove connectors on,
Yeah.
but from the previous screen, right? They changed the PMIC. They reduced the layer count, right? So
Huh.
I think this is a 4-layer board now, right? So it's just a simpler board, right? And it's kind of showing the commitment, the continued commitment to the AM335, right? This processor's been around since 2010 or so.
Hmm.
And like it just keep making more and more and more and more all the time. Um, TI does, not me. I don't make them. Um, so and also don't be confused. I don't work for TI anymore. I haven't worked for TI for like 5 years now.
Uh-huh. But this is
Um,
the.
yeah, so the new PMEC, they took the chance to also upgrade the Ethernet to gigabit. Um, Although you're going to be somewhat bottlenecked by the processor performance, but you got gigabit Ethernet on here. I think you can get about 70% throughput on it, right? Based on the processor load. Although you do have a port switch in there, you can do some things in there if you want to try to get something better. Um, and they also upgraded the flash on here, right? Just doing a redesign, so it's 16 gigabytes of onboard flash, right? So those are kind of the big differences. Going to a 4-layer board, using the new PMIC, putting gigabit Ethernet and the 16 gigabytes of flash.
Good stuff.
So
Ooh, is that?
BeagleBone continues to live as is, right? But
Yeah.
like AM6 is kind of the new AM3, right? So we're kind of keep doing what we've been doing. We did a lot of things with the AM3 processor, right? We continue to do other things with microcontrollers and RISC-V and other things, but kind of the bread and butter is really around the AM6 and the BeagleY uses the 6.7, which has kind of got the DSP and kind of all the SerDes, the PCI Express, the USB 3. But the AM62, which you first saw on Beagle Play, is what's also on the modules. And that's also what you'll see going forward in kind of a lot of the other boards, like dun, 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 dun.
Yes,
The
that's what I love.
And I loved doing
I
I
still got
didn't
my
think I
original
would
one.
like doing the pie form factor. Yeah.
It's so good. Get in there.
But like, it's nice to get back to your roots, right?
Yeah.
Get back into the tin, right? It's this
Oh.
smaller tin, right?
Super cool. Paul chiming in about the BeagleBone Black being the first SBC ever used.
That's super high praise, from
Yeah.
a great developer. I love all the teensy stuff he does.
Yeah.
Just does the best quality documentation, great firmware, right? He's really part of the solution.
Yeah.
And right, so the PocketBeagle 2 is kind of it's what people have been asking for, and I'm really happy to kind of get back into kind of Beagle standard form factors. And this is just like one of the projects, right? This is the folks from Cope Lights. They've done a bunch of projects off of the PocketBeagle 2. We've got the Bella folks.
Yeah.
That recently did a crowdfunding campaign that uses PocketBeagle 2. Right. So we tried to stay engaged with our open source hardware ecosystem friends, right? And really make something that they needed to kind of continue past the AM3, right? Going to quad core, going to 64-bit, keeping the programmable real-time units, which are these 32-bit microcontrollers that with the ultra low latency that really enables them to create stuff like the Bella, where you've got a millisecond from audio in to audio out.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just unachievable, right?
That's
Right?
ludicrous.
They're dealing with like 2 samples at a time, right? In their processing, right? It's a lot of fun. They've done some incredible things in terms of simplicity of software development. Right?
Got one of these around here. Yeah.
Well, you got to get the gem. You got to get the gem. You're gonna love it, right? The UI
Gorgeous
was
little.
like, it
This is
was
like
really nice, but like it was just that little bit sluggish, right? And with the Bella gem, right, all the sluggishness just disappears. Yeah,
This is the original one for what it's worth. Anyone watching, but yeah, the gem being an upgrade. These are all little interfaces,
all
touch
those capacitive
interfaces.
touch. Yeah.
Got like sliders and stuff. Not to cut you off, sorry. I just wanted to explain what I'm showing here.
You can it's
tangled mess of wires.
Like all Beagle things, you start digging into the projects and it just
gets
endless.
Good problems.
If Congress ever needs somebody to filibuster, you can just get me up there to start talking about the Beagle projects I've seen. And,
well, it's a lively ecosystem. There's so much community interest, and of course, you're making it so easy for people to like customize it and tailor it to what they want, and you're so engaged with the community. Like, it's really sort of helping the community stay vibrant, which is amazing.
And maybe it's not all the easiest. I like to say, we want to make the easy things easy, but we want to make the hard things possible. Right? And easy things easy, but we also want to make the really hard stuff where it's possible to do it. Yeah. You just have to. I do have a trill sitting on my desk. How about that?
Ooh, let me pull this up. Yeah.
My desk is loaded with so many things. I also have a trill on my desk. Oh, but what I want to show on my desk, my cable isn't long enough for. But the I was talking about easy things easy, and I want to talk about the tech lab a bit. I don't imagine what trouble I'm going to get when I show my desk. But this is the tech lab. Right. So we've got a set of tutorials. You talked about Rust earlier, but we've got a set of tutorials based on both Python and Rust. right? So you can kind of see what some of the differences are. Right. The tech lab's been kind of heavily used in a lot of different trainings. We're seeing new trainings come online all the time for Beagle Play as well, which is AM6.2 based. But if you click on that PocketBeagle 2 workshop, hopefully that link is fixed.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. So there's a couple of PDFs on here. It doesn't hurt to kind of take a look at like those where it says next to the Canva, the 07, yeah, those PDF links right there.
Mm-hmm. Here we
go.
Yeah,
like one of those. I think this gives people an idea of what we're really trying to go for. I hate that it's in Canva. I hate Canva almost as much as Discord. But I've been trying to learn more layout tools, and that's a whole nother conversation. But in the meantime, we want people to have something that's nicely laid out where they can kind of go from step A to step, C, Z, and get step by step of going through how to get started with the PocketBeagle 2, right? So let's try to keep the easy things easy. But one of the weird things you'll find here is that we don't, we do have some helper libraries, but they're not HALs, right? We try to, I've said thou shalt not do any HALs at BeagleBoard. So HAL, hardware abstraction libraries, something like Linux, an operating system like that is the HAL, right? The interfaces that you need to work with the solution. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't download faster. Maybe it's getting slammed now.
It's probably me. I've got like 8 million tabs open as per usual, so
yeah. Definitely won't share how many tabs I have.
That's how my brain works. Yeah.
But hopefully, I mean, the nice thing is about we can leverage so much existing PocketBeagle stuff, and it's given us a really quick bootstrap, and like nothing, like we can't make PocketBeagle 2s fast enough right now. So that's, I guess that's a sort of nice problem to have, right? Which is why we really, I've not been spending too much time. Like we've done zero advertising for it at this point, zero marketing spend, zero any of that. Like it's just taking off too fast.
It's a very charming board. Like I'm a huge sucker for like the fact that it goes in this little tin. Okay, in terms of like future proofing too, like you don't have to make an enclosure for it. You can use something and keep it out of the waste stream. Although you would probably want to put some like foam tape or something to insulate. But how do you usually like?
How do I usually enclose it?
Like insulate it from the Altoids tin. Just tape or something?
So I usually don't run it in the Altoids tin. I just store it in the Altoids tin.
Gotcha.
When I have
tape would be pretty cool. Sorry, please go on.
No, you're right. Like I think I have just used some like little strip of anti-static because the headers are now included, right? So it's got headers on it on the backside. It can kind of sit flat without making any real contacts.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like that. But just like a little, just if you just want to set a piece of anti-stat, it does still have the battery charger in there, but we don't have like I'm like trying to put a little battery underneath here in here. I think or making a little board that can go underneath there. I think is a really nice challenge for somebody.
Yeah.
And then just doing a little cutout for the USB. I think is a really nice challenge for somebody. To get it done, but no, I've done the 10-snip thing before, just to try to get that out, and that kind of works. But I generally stuff it with a little bit of like anti-stat. The Kapton tape is a perfect idea. I think that's completely reasonable.
Well, now I don't want to do it because you can't be too reasonable.
Oh, okay. What can we do to be crazy? Let's see.
Oh man, I've been doing so much weird stuff with this.
Don't do cotton.
Like, huh?
Bad idea. Don't do cotton though. That's
really
bad.
What's wrong with that? Because it catches on fire?
Or it's static.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, the classic like, well, I guess it's silicone glass rod, but like wool, cotton. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I've got a like little Kiwix, a Raspberry Pi running Kiwix, and I've put it in a coffee cup, like a plastic reusable coffee cup. I'm all about the weird enclosures these days, but we can get into that. So, since you said that you want to get into the deeper stuff, and we typically only go for an hour, but you also mentioned that you don't really have a time constraint. Are you down to go a little bit over and like dig into some stuff? Ha ha ha!
Let's get weird.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So let's see. Preservation of human knowledge. That's partly why, like I mentioned, this Kiwix thing is I don't know if you're familiar, but for everyone, it's an ecosystem that has apps for various different operating systems and mobile OSs and stuff, but also they provide these .zim images that you can get onto and anything running Kiwix. Basically, they're packages of information, including
QWIXX.
Oh yeah, this is always hard to communicate. I think that I need to start spelling it for people every time, because every time I bring it up, this happens. It's KIWIX, like kiwi with an X on the end. And there's other ones like Internet in a Box.
Kiwi. I'm familiar with Kiwi Linux, like the.
I don't know if it's related at all. They're like so they work with these Zim files, which are like an info packaging.
I love that.
Yeah, but you can also package anything in these Zim files. So you can download basically bundles of information, and it does have, like, for example, the Wikimedia Foundation releases. Wait, let's look at the library. Releases prepackaged backups of previous versions of Wikipedia, including like small versions with like just the top 50,000 articles or with no images or whatever, but you can also get a full backup, and they've got archived ones from the past. There's also things like the iFixit repair database, there's TED Talks, there's this free code camp stuff, lots of Stack Overflow stuff, surprisingly, like for a bunch of different subjects you can download like a Stack Overflow package. And so this has been sort of my recent jam of just like how do we preserve knowledge, specifically, especially like from before sort of like hallucinated information became so common, getting like an older version of Wikipedia onto a Pi, for example, or another single board computer, in order to be able to, you can like serve it over Wi-Fi to any local device that can connect to it. And I'm kind of like describing this in a really spotty and confusing way. But anyway, all of these things you can get onto a device and then serve it.
This is amazing. I love this. I love it.
Yeah, preservation of human knowledge, man.
I feel like I've tangentially heard something about this, right? I think where I do tend to focus is the knowledge of how to make something out of computers.
Yes.
Right. So, right.
Maybe you should make a bundle.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think pushing things in. Yeah. How much of it belongs in Wikipedia? How much of it doesn't? Right? They need to do one for elinux.org, which is a really nice wiki. I wonder if they have one.
Is there a hyphen in there?
eLinux. No, I don't think there's a hyphen.
Oops. I'll just stop showing my screen while I try
without the hyphen. elinux.org. I think the Linux Foundation may have gone ahead and taken it over.
Yeah, check it out.
A lot of the early stuff, like this is where a lot of the initial support for BeagleBone lived, and BeagleBoard and BeagleBone.
Boot time with a boot picture.
And it's got a lot of information on the Raspberry Pi now. A lot of the kind of work to kind of peel back the layers on the Pi. Yeah. There was some ugly like branding stuff that went on here to try to make it more official, when ultimately we just forked and went our own way. And that's kind of unfortunate, right? So you get these ugly compromises. You'll see some of these bitches like, the official, the community. And anyway, it could use some love. Like there's really no need for that. For some of the richness, right? docs.beagle.cc, kind of lives now to kind of maintain it, but it's not as accessible as something like a wiki page, right? We try to keep it as easy as possible, but like one of our biggest problems is just bot spam, right? We have to police accounts, right? We have to approve accounts. We need to somebody to send us an email or a chat on Discord or something like that in order to even turn on an account, right? The fact that the big guys have destroyed, OAuth, right? The authentication tools so that you can like own your identity, right? And they've just leveraged it to all the big guys. Essentially, you go to Google or Facebook or somebody else for your identity, and you can't host your own identity to log into the
Yeah.
things, right? There used to be this thing called OpenID, which was was killed by as a threat to the great login giants of the internet.
Wow. Because everyone wants you to like single sign on with their things so they can
Exactly.
track you everywhere.
They can track you everywhere. But
Love
OpenID,
it.
like you can no longer really log into anywhere with OpenID. Like
Hmm.
we used to the BeagleBoard website used to be able to log in with OpenID and edit any of the BeagleBoard pages. Like the whole site was like a essentially like a wiki, except you just did raw HTML. The but now, in order to try to get other people to contribute, we switched to WordPress, which, God, kill me, WordPress.
Oh yeah, lots of
And,
security issues I always
and
hear about with that.
and the GitLab stuff, right? So the GitLab stuff is great, but if you just want to do something, so like I've been turned on to a project called Fossil. You talk about preservation of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So like um, it was written. It's like a Git written by the guys that did SQL Lite. So Fossil was like so Git was a version control tool created by Linus Torvalds to maintain Linux. Right, so it was kind of written for a solving problem. Fossil is largely written, for the same purpose, where the project, instead of being Linux, is SQL.
Gotcha.
And like so, the Library of Congress, for example, uses SQLite to store database information, long-term storage for their data preservation. Right, so it doesn't quite have the same collaboration mechanisms that you get out of something like GitLab, but I've really been turned on by it. Right, I use it for a lot of projects. I use the Fossil.
Really cool.
It's a really nice project. It has a lot of potential. It's also, this website is hosted using the Fossil executable itself. So
check that out.
Yeah. So that's kind of part of the magic of it, right? Is because it's if you look at something like Git, right, you've got things like GitLab and other tools kind of built out around it, whereas Fossil contains the web server just deeply integrated. Then it still works with like old technology, like this thing called CGI bin, if you've ever heard of it.
Oh yeah,
layer applications on top of it.
I think I've seen like lots of URLs or like new tabs open with that in it. I forget, like, but it's a very familiar little subphrase embedded in my brain.
Yeah, so I think there might be something interesting, like the way they're doing QX. I'd be kind of curious if there's ways how that's all version controlled. I think maybe doing something like this might be an interesting way to kind of host it locally or something or whatnot. But
yeah,
who knows?
I don't know if you can serve stuff from there, like as a well. I mean, that is exactly what they're doing. Oh, sorry. I mean,
serving it locally as a web page, right? In QX, right? They're serving it. It's just they're including a local server for serving up the content, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly. And it like creates an access point so that basically you connect to its Wi-Fi and then like you can search anything on there. Privacy focused too, because then it's not like going through anyone's network or anything, which is kind of cool.
Preserves bandwidth, right? Although it depends on how often you download the whole thing.
Yeah, true.
I love it. I think I'm gonna start one of these servers at my house.
Nice. Yeah, there's a similar one called Internet in a Box that it describes itself as kind of like similar to a public fountain, but like instead of providing like water and like everything the fountain provides, it's like a community resource, but for information, which is kind of cool. Just such a cool concept in general. But yeah. I'm kind of digressing from like I can rant about this stuff forever, but this is your show.
I don't think this is digressing, right?
Because cool.
I think this is the there have been projects kind of Beagle adjacent, kind of related to this the whole time, and this has kind of always been the focus of Beagle, is that preservation of human knowledge, right? But it's it is, you know, somewhat targeted in the, you know, embedded systems, right? Maybe then like some of the broader stuff, but I think you know, relating it to truth assertion, for example. I think one of the, not running our own email servers, I think is showing its issues. Right, SMTP was started out to be something like everybody, you know, every company, everybody, organization, everybody had their own stuff, and if you got corporate email, that's fine, but pretty much everybody's using these, you know, large single source servers, right? But for example, how is it? What are we? Email's been around since what, the '60s, really? Like, you know, it's well over 50 years old, and
Wow.
we still are sending unencrypted emails to each other. And
Yeah.
I'm not like saying that we have to communicate about something privately, but why does it make sense
I mean,
that,
it's good to
like,
have, yeah,
it's
as the
really,
default, you
really,
know.
it's really hard to just communicate to people in a encrypted fashion, right? You know, we've got some particular apps, right, that rely on, you know, trusted quote unquote third party vendors, right? You know, iMessage, I'll throw out, right? You know, like you trust those things to kind of go and secure whatnot. And for the most part, that's true. But like, why don't we have email that's like secure, and not just
Yeah.
like the, like, do we even know where it came from, right? Spam shouldn't exist as a problem. It's
Yeah.
nonsense.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
absolute nonsense that spam exists at all, right? It's
I mean, in
just a
Blade Runner, that's
choice.
what killed the world. Like in Blade Runner, like the book, the problem that started everything is Kipple, which is like literally spam letters just like piling up everywhere on the earth, so that like you can, like, that was the sort of source of the dystopia. And then you get into like things like chat control here, which is a big thing happening, like a big issue in the EU right now, happening, where they're trying to like, I think especially the Danish government, maybe, is, I could be wrong on that, is trying to do all this like stuff where basically people shouldn't have encrypted messaging at all. It's like, no, we need to go the other way. Go the other way.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's lots of interest in all these like other communication protocols and stuff that are opening up. Of course, there's like PGP encrypted email and stuff, but I've heard that even people running their own email servers, like you're talking about, have issues where like the big ones will not whitelist them. They'll, or you have to whitelist them because they'll like mark those as spam or as like unrecognized, untrusted servers because they're not one of the big ones. So that like even if you try to do the right thing, you end up being like blocked from the ecosystem, which is like a huge problem in itself.
And yeah, I mean, there's no reason you couldn't have a, you know, give preference in your inbox to messages signed by people that are in your contact list, right? And so, you know, doing some of these self-hosting solutions, I think, is interesting, but there's real practical problems to it. You know, yeah. Uh, yeah, it's I don't know where to kind of start at the problem. I think a lot of my focus has kind of gone back, you know, of course, always looking at embedded, always kind of looking at things a little bit from the ground up. Yeah, I've been chatting with a gentleman for a couple of years about this operator programmer interface that he's been pushing, and I think it's amazing, right? Essentially, kind of recreating what a computer is, where people self-construct their computers to do what they want them to do, to kind of do what
Yeah.
they do every day, right? Their email, right? But just downloading a big Docker container that just puts somebody else's random bits on your server, I don't think is the answer, right? I think you have to kind of, these, you know, from embedded systems, we kind of learned, like, you want to understand things 2 levels down below where you actually use them, right? So like you use your compiler all the time and every day, right? You don't need to know everything about your compiler, but you need to know why you've chosen to trust it and what your trust is based on, in order to depend on it as a tool every day.
And and have it be able to integrate with other people's things, so like it's not just like randomly cut out because it's an independent thing.
But like stuff like email, right? That we have the standards, right? We have the standards for encrypted email, right? We have the ways to share our private keys, right? Really don't have to do key parties anymore, right? You publish it to some sort of you know what a key party is? Not
Yeah,
that
I've
one.
been to one.
Again, not that one.
Yeah, I've been to the PGP key swap parties.
Yeah, that one. That one's the right one. Yeah.
There was one at Noisebridge a while ago, by which I mean like 10 years ago. Probably more
Yeah.
recently, but like
So nobody really. Yeah,
terminology is a
PGP.
huge theme of today, I guess.
PGP key citing parties, right?
Yeah.
Do you really is that necessarily the way, right? Probably not. You have your identity on GitHub and Facebook, and you get enough cross links, and you share your public key enough places. I think you can probably be reasonably confident that that public key belongs to that person.
Yeah, and then you've got like the interrelation between people. So the
Yeah.
point of the PGP key signing parties being that like you sign each other's keys, so the people who have my key and they see that like I've signed your key, they're like, oh, okay, this person that I trust this other person, so they probably are who they say they are. And social networks almost function similarly to this these days, although it can of course be like compromised in various ways. What was I
Like
looking up?
friend. Yeah, well, are they really a friend? Is that the right person? Because they're a friend of a friend, But,
yeah, true.
But you spend most of those PGP key signing parties explaining to other people what it means to do it.
Yeah, which is fascinating. We've got a bunch of cool comments in here from Paul Stoffergen, who was asking about the Wi-Fi module Mauser part number. So I pulled it up here, and let me find it again in my tabs. So here we go. Not to totally pull us off the subject, but I pulled this up and dropped it in the comments. We've got the part number here, and we have a question. Do these modules have documented hardware registers and programming API?
Sigh. Trying to work on that. No, we have firmware for them that's loaded into Linux firmware, and we have mainline software support against the firmware, right? No, we don't have the actual documentation inside the module. Unfortunately, you can get the data sheets and stuff of the chips inside of them, but yeah, it's the same sort of situation. I'm continuing to try to work that to try to get more details of the register sets inside. Some of the processors inside the module, but it's not quite there. They've done a microcontroller based version as well, but really you're just getting a microcontroller sitting next to the radio. You're not getting the details and the firmware sources of the radio itself. I think you're really still stuck with. I don't know that. One of our board members is Kathy Giori, and she played a large role in open sourcing the Atheros details, right, and getting some of that firmware enabled, right. And I think the work she did there with the Atheros is probably still some of the best stuff you can get details on is some of the older Atheros stuff that Kathy worked on there. I think they've somewhat lost their open source understanding way, despite, all the benefits that it's given them through sales of routers and, gateway routers and such. Continue to try to, any TIers watching this, it matters to actually give away the registers, and you can. I think for those people doing these systems, you can debate whether or not you're giving away too much and making it easier for your competition, making yourself more susceptible to IP lawsuits, and there's a lot of different liabilities that come around this stuff for those large companies to be able to do it, and they just they don't think it necessarily helps them enough to do the risk. I definitely strongly believe that it's well worth the risk. And if you look at how much Ethereum sold on those devices that provided good programming information within the Wi-Fi modules, that you'll see it really does pay off. And it pays off for society, not just for the company, but you can't really count those. It also really pays off for the company. So if you know of a good one, please tell me. Very interested. On the even on the CC1352s, we have a lot more control because it's largely software programmable radios, but there's an M0 in there that they don't give away all the details. They give a lot of entry points, and you can kind of change a few things with patches on the M0s, but they don't give you the full source code on those either. There's always kind of places where it hits limits. We start talking about open source chip stuff, I think we can really spin out. But yeah.
So I've just realized that in fact, sorry?
We could definitely spin out an open source chips. Let's maybe not do that.
Oh, let's find another time to do that. I've just realized that I actually have a time constraint coming up in about 7 minutes, which is my bad. But I want to make sure that we have time to throw in all the rest of the stuff. Perhaps we have one comment that came in right at the start that I never put on the screen about what do you think is the future of SBCs? And I feel like we've kind of touched on that, but maybe you can think about it for a sec. I'm going to take us back through all the tabs that we looked at, all the new hardware we're looking at and talked about today, and the giveaway, of course, and then we'll wrap it all up if that's cool. Although, yeah, we'll have to chat about this more. It would be really cool. I would love to actually listen to a chat with you and maybe some other people about open source chips. So we've got the BeagleY-AI, the new latest AI focused board from BeagleBoard.org in a Raspberry Pi friendly form factor. So you can attach things like this MyCobot from Elephant Robotics. Then there is the BeagleMod CC33 module, which is part of that board, which you can find on Mouser if you want to get the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth low energy powers from it. PocketBeagle 2, very exciting. There's this Tech Lab add-on. There's also the Bella Gem that is for ultra low latency audio. Incredible. There's also the Seed Studio BeagleBone Green Eco, and you can read about multiple of these ones on the Hackster News blog, of course, including the Green Eco and the PocketBeagle 2. And then also there is a giveaway going on right now through October 5th, which is Hackster is giving away two BeagleY-AI boards as part of this On the Edge giveaway. Go to Hackster.io/contests and you'll be able to learn all about it, including the rules, how you enter, how you get more entries. The more you do on the site, you can sort of get more entries into the drawing to win these things. And then, of course, there's a grand prize with the Ultimate Tome AI server, which you can read about on the site as well. There's a Tech Lab workshop. There's so much documentation around this stuff. And so you can go find that workshop. There's also docs.beagle.cc with all the not only the information that you can find, but you can contribute back to it as well. There's, of course, BeagleBoard's YouTube channel. And actually, if you scroll to the top of the page, there's also a Discord, which is, according to Jason, very bravely, you can actually get time on Jason's calendar by contacting through Discord. It's a good way to get hold of Jason. And then also all these other links where you can participate. I just had to show this real quick because Paul's been in the chat today. Love the teensy and all that you do with that. Great documentation as well. And then we were talking about Fossil for a minute. And wait, is this the right thing? Yes,
That's
I think
Linux.
So. Oh yeah, this is the right. Separate thing. But anyway, the embedded Linux wiki I thought was really interesting. And we're going to get around to some interesting OS stuff in the future and maybe putting some information on the like QX type stuff on the Beagles. We shall see. But anyway, thank you so much for joining, Jason. It's always a great. I can't believe it's been 2 years since our last chat.
Has it? Oh my.
Well, maybe not exactly. It could have been 1 year and a half, but I don't know. It's been too long.
This is our first BeagleY talk?
I think so. Are there other BeagleYs? I'm so out of the loop.
Yeah, it was last year because we launched BeagleY last year now, I think, isn't
Gotcha.
it? So
I've got to catch up.
something
There's all this stuff on the blog. I only
maybe it was this
scratched the
year. I don't know.
surface.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
I know, right? But go check out the blog, everyone. More stuff. So, Jason, in these last few minutes we have today, anyway, what do you think is the future of SBCs, and including the preservation of human knowledge?
Oh man, I think you see a lot more open source going inside, right? We did not really talk about open source chips, but I think that we really are going to see the source go into more. I think we're going to find, I think the future of hardware is software, and the future of software is hardware, right? If you look at the hardware, software, mechanical, co-design stuff, right? It's always moving. It's always aggressive. I think prototyping has never been easier, and it's going to continue to accelerate where things are much more modular, much more able to use tools to define everything with an open source tool. We're going to be defining open source chips, computers, and enclosures, and all in one, right? The CAD of the future, right? And the things that we have with our operating systems, right? We're gonna end up designing it all together in a way that's not held captive by Autodesk.
Yeah, and it ties in so strongly with the ongoing repair movement. Like, if you can build it from scratch, then you can hack it to suit your needs, and you can repair it if it goes sideways. If your thing gets broken, you can replace this module on it for the wireless stuff. You just order it.
And that means it has to be possible to peel back the layers of the onion and understand those layers in between that you're depending on.
Awesome. And which again ties into what you derailing ties into the 4-layer board part of Seed Studios' new BeagleBone Green Eco, being like 4 layers makes it so much less complex to manufacture in various ways, if you're dealing with that kind of a question. All right. Oh, could go on forever. Can't. Thank you so much, Jason, and thank you everyone for joining us and for dropping your comments and questions in the chat. It's always a great time and really cool to see cool people from the community who are doing amazing stuff with hardware as well. All right, hack on.
Thanks all.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.